All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up, guys? Welcome. What is this, Monday? Monday night? Well, like always, come one, come all. Come see Jojo, the dog-faced boy. He neither eats, nor sleeps, nor crawls, nor creeps. He's 15 inches across the eyes and smells like a wolf. He's Jojo, the dog-faced boy. What's up, guys? Anybody out there? Hello, hello. I see nobody at the moment. Come on in, guys. Stop swiping. Put a halt on that finger. Stop swiping. Oop. I see one person. Girl in the mirror. Is that right? Am I right? Is it you? Who is it? Who is it? Come on, guys. Oh, that person's gone. Who else? Who else? Stop swiping, guys. Give that finger a rest. Knock it off. Come on in. Come on in. My door is always open. Cade! What's going on? No block. What's up, Batman? Wait, what am I looking at there? Is that a miniature car in the background, or is that a full-size car? Devil dog, no way. Serious. No block is not correct? No block. Giancarlo. No way. Is that Gian? Is that like the Gian I know? Seriously. Knoblock. Knoblock. Philosopher. Shane McMahon? Who is Shane McMahon? Sorry, guys. You're kind of losing me. Is that Giancarlo, like Beyonce? That it? No block? Ah. I figured KNOB is knob, right? Which one is it? Kano block? Like K-A-N-O, if you were pronouncing it, K-A-N-O? Is that right? Or is it no block? Which one? The third. Kano block. Are you a Kano? You know what a Kano is? The third one you said. I'm confusing my own self. What was the third one? Pronouncing the K separately? Kano? Like that? Is that right? No block, I think. Devilish dog. Are you a devil dog? In New Jersey. I have a family member named Giancarlo. That's why I'm asking. Say it again, but in 3 different ways. Kano block, no block, knob block. There you go. There's 3 different ways. Knob block, Kano block, no block. Florida. Ah, yeah. My wife's nephew is Giancarlo. What are the chances, right? Yeah, the third one that you said. That's canoe block. Well, in the Philippines, an American is known as a canoe because the Americano. Sorry about the focus here. I'm struggling. Skibidi! What's up, Skibidi? Welcome back. Hey, all the rest of you guys. And Ruck. Sorry, bro. Yeah, that's what I thought. Ruck, knob block. But he said canoe block. Come on. Sorry, you slipped in and I missed you there, Ruck. Big rig. Favorite brand of what? Big rig? Peterbilt? I don't know. I don't know big rigs too well. I just know they're big. Hey, thanks again, everyone, for popping in. Don't leave. Just stay around. What's my favorite? Oh, band. Oh, I thought that was brand. Sorry. What's my favorite band? I don't have one anymore. I grew up with the biggest one was Rush because I was a drummer. But I grew up with, the classic rock era. Deep Purple, all of them. Gosh, you name it. Help me out, Marine. Let's start naming all the bands that we grew up with. I'm referring to rock. Don, start naming off some of the bands. Boston, the Eagles. God, they're endless. Guns N' Roses was Tom Sawyer. Oh my gosh, that's one of the songs. Bon Jovi was a little later. AC/DC, definitely grew up with AC/DC. Metallica was later. Kiss, all the long hair bands. Rush, 38 Special, Boston, Kansas. Oh my gosh, Eagles, Aerosmith. Keep going, Don. Yes, that's right. Yeah. What about Jethro Tull? Oh my gosh. Jethro, Fleetwood. The genre, it's just, there's so many from that era. You just keep going and going and going. And then I went into the disco era, even in the 70s. Jethro, Styx, oh my gosh. Just keep going. It's just endless. Deep Purple, they're coming live. They're playing live here. I don't know if they're here in Atlantic City or somewhere. I just saw the advertisement for Deep Purple. I was like, oh my gosh. What about the Doobie Brothers? Yeah. Disco Dawn. I had Angel Flights and 3-inch platform heels. Yeah. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I had the whole Angel Flight outfit with the vest. The John Travolta. Oh my gosh, Santana. He's from Tijuana, Mexico. Remember that, Don? Yeah. Did you really? You were one of them? So you could dance too? Oh my gosh. The girls loved it. Oh my gosh. Did you have the layered hair do? I should get my picture down off the wall. Hold on. I'm going to go get it, Don. Hold on. Blast from the past, my graduating class, 1980. Hold on. Okay, I got it. Yes, the feathered hair, dude. You ready? You ready? You ready for the glass head? Here we go. There it is, dude. Check this out. 1980s all the way. Here, wait. Oh my gosh, it's kind of. Wait. Let me take off the background. Hold on. Oh my goodness gracious. Hold on, guys. Don't go. I'm going to take off the virtual background here in a second. Okay. Here we go. Hold on. I'm coming back. Okay, ready? There we go, dude. 1980s right there. 1979, I guess that where it really was. It's kind of a reflection. Hairspray and all. Yep. There you go. Blast from the past, ladies and gentlemen. What's that? Could probably chip off some hair off. Some chip. You could crinkle it and it would break. Not really, but. Oh my gosh. Yeah, nice collar. You see how big that big old collar? Yeah, see that? There it is. Here, let me get it a little bit. There we go. Without the reflection here. Kind of hard without that. Madison High School, San Diego, California. Right there, baby. 1980s. 77 through 80 was my high school. West Coast. Carry on, yeah, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are gone. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you, what is it? Don't you cry no more. Boom, 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 blat. Wait, doom, 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 blat. Oh my gulai. What's up, West Coast? Distorted. To host an air show? No, I didn't know that. Why is that? Mythasura. You mean my 80s picture? Mythy? Or right now? Or both? Look up 911. Oh, a horrible place for an air show. Oh, Mama, I'm in fear for my life for the long arm of the law. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness gracious. Mithy, where are you located? Guy? Girl? Haven't seen your 80s pics. I just showed my 80s pic. You see my 80s pic? Here's my 80s pic. 1980. Actually, I think it was taken in. It might have been taken the senior year. That's when are photos taken? The year before or the year of? It'd been. Let's see. I graduated in June of 1980. So yeah, it was definitely 1980. Yeah, I'm trying to remember what song those lyrics are. I recognize the lyrics. But you know what, Don? The honest truth, for some reason, growing up, I had an ear for music. You know, I was a drummer. I told you I was a percussionist. And, you know, I can even tune instruments. You know, I can help people to tell them if they're sharp or flat. But I didn't have an ear for lyrics. It was like lyrics were hard for me to understand what they were saying. unless I looked at an album cover and I actually read the lyrics. But even then, I didn't really concentrate on memorizing them like a lot of the kids did. You know, they had songs memorized and all of that. And I, to this very day, I don't know what the lyrics were of the songs that I was listening to. Some of them I do, partial lyrics. But I don't know, like, the story, you know, as far as what the song was about and, you know, that whole. And it was the weirdest thing, but yeah, it's. Oh, was that you? Get you a ponytail and some lipstick? John, where? Now or in the 80s? I mean, in the 70s. That's right, West Coast. That's what Carry On, My Wayward Son, he was. Are you transitioning into a woman or a man? Uh, no, I've been a man for 62 years. Thank you very much. Oh, was that the name of the song, The Renegade by Styx? Hangman is coming down from the gallows. Oh my gosh, Jonathan. That's awesome. Yep. Okay, why is my screen cut off? Oh, there we go. I had it magnified a little bit too much. Okay, it took me. And you know, because of that, Don, that very reason, not picking up on, you know, what was being said in songs, when I watch movies to this day, and it's not because I can't hear, although the drumming did take away some of my hearing, but I put on captions all the time. I would prefer them to have them at movies because I can hear subtle things that aren't picked up. You know, even in the background when somebody's talking in the background that isn't the focus of the movie. You know, the main line. Captions can pick up little subtle things that you typically aren't hearing, you know, or listening for. So even my wife and I today, we put on captions because we can pick up stuff that, you know, if you didn't have it on, it would kind of be in passing and you wouldn't be paying attention to it because the main character is talking, you know. Anyways, so yeah, if songs only had captions, then maybe I'd been paying attention a little more. Oh, the first time you ever see me without a cover? Oh yeah, I just got my hair cut, so it's nice and cropped, high and tight. And the lady that does it is the bomb, and you know, you're always looking for somebody that does it the way you want it. And this lady is like, she's from Dominica, Dominican Republic, and she uses an electric razor by the ears, and she gets it all nice and high and tight. She puts on that nice cool cream, you know, afterwards, and just kind of lights up your ears and your neck, and you're like, yeah, that feels awesome. Oh, gee, yeah, yeah. So, you know, do you know the story behind my haircut? Guys, girls, I don't know if you're men or women out there. Most of you are guys, I think. But in 1982, May 19th, 1982, I was in a horrendous. Well, here I'll start off my live stream with a emergency medical story, but it's about me and what I was involved in before I was in emergency medicine. How you doing, OG? Welcome back. Thanks for coming. Let me turn this music down just a bit more. Yeah, and it wasn't because of this that I got into emergency medicine, this story. This was just happenstance, and I was the victim in this call. So anyways, I got into rock climbing when I was 19 years old. I might have mentioned that. And I got addicted to it for the next 30 plus years, all the way until I was 53 years old. I was in the best shape of my life. It kept me in the best shape of my life up until I was 53. Um, so Yeah, that music is kind of distracting here. Let me turn it off and I'll just tell the story. There we go. And if you hear talking in the background, that's my 19-year-old contending with me. So anyhow, I'm rock climbing at Mount Woodson on in Poway, between Poway and Ramona. Take Poway Road out to Black Mountain, and then on up, past up and over Mount Woodson, and then down into Ramona on the way to Julian. I'm sure you've done that road. And so I'm rock climbing about this time of the year. Actually, it was May. I just said it was May. So it was during the summer, beginning of the summer. So the light was staying up until 8:30-ish. And I would climb usually early afternoon or middle of the afternoon until dark. And then when it got dark, I'd head down the mountain back to the car and then drive back home. And so it was like the normal routine. It's a 20-mile drive from Claremont up to Poway. My mom actually resides in Poway to this day. And so, see if I can get just a little bit. Okay. So I'm going through the motions. I'm out on I don't know if it was a Friday night or whatever. Get off work, head up to do some rock climbing. It might have been the weekend, whatever. And I'm coming down at 8:30 in the evening. It's dark out already. I got my headlamp on down. It's a paved road coming down the mountain. And I get back to my car. I was in a Datsun 310 hatchback. And the Japanese aluminum can with the hatchback and the hood that opens the opposite way, and opens from the windshield, out. And I'm starving usually after rock climbing for obvious reasons. And I stop at the local, either the Albertos, I think it's the Hilbertos, or one of the Bertos in Poway, and or whatever fast food, And this evening I'm stopping at Burger King. It's on the way out Poway Road before I get to Interstate 15 going southbound. And I remember I got a Whopper Junior meal at Burger King. Fries, 32 ouncer and a Whopper Junior. Tomatoes, lettuce, onions. So I finished that and then got in the car and I'm heading home. It's probably, by the time I got down the mountain, it was probably 9 o'clock. Stopped at Burger King, ate. It's going on 10 o'clock-ish as I'm heading home. And I get on the Cloverleaf on-ramp and then head southbound on Interstate 15. And what is it? 4 lanes, on both sides. And there's no barrier at the time. There may be a cement barrier there now, but it was just an open dirt and chaparral, center divide, about 10 meters wide, 30 feet or so. So I'm heading southbound, and in this 79 or thereabout year Datsun 310, I had one of those racing. I've got to put it in a picture here. It's not this big, but as long as your windshield, one of those racing Winky mirrors. Remember those with the multiple slats going across your windshield? Well, I had one of those mounted, and I'm heading home. And I'm in the fast lane, and I'm doing 60, 65, whatever. And all I remember, the next thing I remember is, when you're driving on a mountain road, a 2-lane mountain road, or on a city street, and somebody's got their bright lights on. Here, let me put that background back up because the family doesn't like being in the picture. So I'm going to respect their wishes here. My wife gets all mad at me. Turn the camera the other way. And I said, I got a background, and I just shut it off. Okay. So I I'm heading back, and I'm in the fast lane going southbound. And I was saying, when you're on a road and somebody has their headlights on, their bright lights on, your automatic reaction is to, look away from the headlights and look to the right, the white line on the right shoulder, so you can maintain your direction and your path. And I remember doing that. It's like all of a sudden, bright lights on, and I turned my head to the right to avoid looking straight into them. Well, remember where I was. I'm on the interstate. And I'm realizing this after the fact. What in the world is a car doing anywhere close to my lane of travel on the interstate, coming close to me with their bright lights on? Because if somebody over on the, 30, 40 feet away in the northbound lanes, even if they were in, gosh, there he is, even if they were in the fast lane going northbound, it really isn't close enough to be a deterrent, of your vision. We're separated too far away. Well, as you're already kind of reading between the lines, that vehicle that had his bright lights on, whether he had his bright lights on or if he was just too close to me, he was coming across the center median from the northbound side into the southbound lanes. And that was the vehicle that struck me head on, doing 60, 65 miles per hour. I was doing 60, 65. After the fact, I'm going to kind of jump around here with the story because I know the numbers after I got their police report, and I read them, and I obviously survived this. It was a drunk driver who was driving a Ford F100 stake bed truck with the wood slats. Matter of fact, I think the bed was that inlaid wood, and with the wood slats on the side and the back. And it was apparently a welding truck, or modified to be a welding company vehicle. And he had apparently stopped and got plastered and then headed home going northbound. And whether he fell asleep at the wheel or whatever, and he wandered across the center median into the southbound lanes of travel. And I was the first vehicle he hit. That's all I remember. All I remember is bright lights. I turned my head to the right to avoid looking into them, and the rest is history. I don't remember anything. No sounds, nothing. And then I woke up, and I'm in Sharp Hospital. It was before trauma centers were established, before Sharp was a trauma center, in 1982, May 19th, 1982. And I woke up, and there was somebody in my face, and he had his hands on me, and I had my head turned to the right with my face like on the bed. And I'm, of course, like waking up from a sleep, wondering where am I? And somebody's pushing down on my head, and they're saying, it's okay, relax. This is Dr. whatever he said. You're at Sharp Hospital. I'm putting stitches in your face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, and I realized I'm okay, but I have no idea where I'm at. And I look to my right, and I feel somebody holding my hand. Yeah, I felt somebody holding my hand. I look to my right, and it's my mom sitting next to me. I'm 19 years old at the time. And my mom's saying something, and she's sitting there with me, and they're all trying to like calm me down and, keep me laying flat and still. So, make a long story longer, I ended up getting hit head on by a F100 truck, stake bed truck. And the police report I got it here somewhere in my archives, said he was doing a minimum of 89.3 miles per hour and a maximum of 100.1 or something, based on the skid marks that were left before he left the road. They determined, they came up these numbers. And I remember reading the police report, and it was like a minimum of 89.3 and a maximum of 100.1 or something. And before he left his lanes of travel, and then went across the dirt median and then struck me. His vehicle wasn't dead head on with me. He was traveling at an angle across me, and I hit his passenger side where the cab connects to the bed. And I literally bent his vehicle almost in half, and it was literally like an L. The truck was like an L, and my Datsun 310 hatchback was just completely, the bumper was over the firewall. It was even with my windshield, and the windshield, I'm sorry, the hood came up through the windshield, through the top part of it, and whether that's what hit me right here in the head. Actually, you can't see it, but I've got a nice scar right along my hairline, and then you can kind of see some, I don't know if you can tell, my eye is a little deformed, the shape of it compared to the right side. But I ended up breaking the orbit, which is the bottom floor of my left orbit, and cracked that in two, and of course filleted this, part of my face open. And then it also lacerated my neck, and apparently that's what he was stitching up when I woke up. My mom told me after the fact, and it was squirting blood. She said, when, as you can imagine, a mom, she got the phone call from whoever at the hospital, and she responds to the hospital with my dad, and it was like 11:30 at night at this point, because it happened around 10ish. And they get there, and my mom told me after the fact, she walked into the emergency room and she heard a voice. And of course, being a mother, it's like her eyeballs went right over to that voice. She knew who that was, and it was me screaming. And she walked in and she saw this, ejection, this blood ejecting out of my neck, apparently. And it wasn't my artery. It was now that I'm in the medical field, it was my external jugular, which is the big vein. If I tamponade, there it is. You can see it, that pencil-sized vein that's going up and down my neck. I can't do that looking in the. Anyways, and that's what she walked in on. She walked in on her son's voice, and then when she looked into the room, there's blood all over the place. And so I ended up getting a contused heart, meaning a bruised heart. That's what a contusion is. I didn't have my seatbelt on. I struck the steering wheel. In that type of accident, I learned after the fact, there's two mechanisms that a body goes through. It's either up and over or down and under. And I went up and over. And so the steering wheel hit me in the chest. My head hit the windshield, and I'm sure the hood made contact with my head and face as well. And yeah, and I ended up surviving. There was another vehicle next to me as well in the next lane to my right. He was also stopped, involved in the collision. And all three vehicles came to a halt on the southbound side. The driver of the drunk driver, he ended up surviving, and I ended up in the middle of a lawsuit for the next 4.5 years, and got awarded a big sum of money and ended up buying my first house with it. And then I lost it 10 years later, bankrupt, and long story. But anyways, that's what happened to me back in, May 19th, 1982. What brought up that subject? I was going to lead that into uh, um, 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 a point, or or another story. Help me out. What was said that prompted me to talk about? Um, we were talking about music. Are you guys still there? Josh, Don, OG, uh, John, West Coast, Jonathan, Vitor, Mithi Asura. Yeah, I'm scrolling back here trying to um, remember what was the reason why I who said something? Cologne for 3 years. Wait, I'm reading. War. Oh my gosh. War. Huh. What is it good for? We're talking about all music, all that. Was it? Oh my gosh, Def Leppard, Big Rig. um, help me out, guys. What was the? Yeah, you mentioned. Oh, my haircut. Thank you. Good job, OG. Um, that's so. Thank you. Gosh, I was like, wait a minute. I had a specific reason for talking about this accident. Yeah, Don said that's the first time he's seen me without a with a cover on. Because of that accident, because of the injury I had to this part of my head, in order to put stitches up there, they had to shave my hair. And so my hair, this side of my head, the left side, ended up getting pretty much shaved like you see it right now. It wasn't as good as the lady did it just now, but you get the gist. They had to shave that side of my head, to get everything out of the way. So I had this lopsided. I had the 80s haircut, and on the right side, and this shaved look on the left side. So obviously I had to balance it out, being at that, especially that age, self-conscious about your appearance and all that. And so I went to the barber or the stylist eventually, and I got it evened out. And I ended up with this style right here to this day. The thereabouts this style. High and tight, clean cut, and I realized, hey, that looks okay. So I was like, I was good to go for the rest of my life. I've been wearing my hair that way ever since. Ever since. Yep. So I was what, 19 years old when I discovered, that a clean cut 19-year-old actually looked better than the than the 80s surfer layered cut. So yeah, that was like 14 years, or let's see. I ended up get 10 years before I get into emergency medicine. I was like 27, 29, 8 or 10 years before. And on that note, just to kind of end the story, because of that accident, no, I'm sorry. Because of that accident, it changed my mindset as far as, what a seatbelt would have done for me. Um, and I was working at General Dynamics Electronics. It was actually like my first year working there. My dad got me a job at $4.25 an hour in 1980. And I was doing a lot of driving. That was part of my job. I was a parts dispatcher. I mentioned it before, moving parts from Lindbergh Field Airport to Kearney Mesa. And, I'd take I can still remember, I'd get on 163 heading south and then take the, let's say 163 into downtown. Would I take Highway 8? Yeah, take Highway 8 going west and then get on Highway 5 heading south and then take the Sassafras Road exit downtown San Diego. Sassafras. I remember. See, I'm in New Jersey, but I still remember my exits in San Diego. Yeah, and then that would be the airport, and I'd wander my way into the company. And I was driving the van, and I realized I was reaching back to get my seatbelt on after this accident. After I finally went back to work about 6 months later, after I decompressed and rehabbed from that. Um, I'm driving a van downtown San Diego, and I go to put my seatbelt on, and I realized there's no seatbelt, and it had a lap belt, but the lap belt was tucked down in the crack. You know how it was. Nobody wore seat, or very few wore seatbelts. And I realized, you know what? This van needs a seatbelt for obvious reasons, especially me just coming out of that. And they had an employee suggestion program that you could actually accumulate prizes and awards. You could purchase stuff with these points if your suggestion was approved. And I all of a sudden, like, ding, the light went on. I went, how can they deny this? So I put in an employee suggestion to put in shoulder straps, shoulder belts, and lap belts on all company vehicles, company wide, Convair, General Dynamics, the whole the whole company, General Dynamics, period. And it got approved. And I ended up buying a king size waterbed for my then wife and I when I was living in Claremont. And yeah, it got approved without any questions. Yeah, following up on the Volkswagen Jetta. Um, what about the Volkswagen Jetta, Matt? Oh, that's right. You mentioned you had one. So yeah, imagine that. And my mother and my father rebelled even after they just about lost their son, and they refused to wear their seatbelt. And oh, thank you, Marianne, so much. I didn't see you. You must have just come in. Everybody, meet Marianne down there. She's in Davao, Philippines. That's in the Mindanao province of the Philippines, the south part of the Philippines. Maayong buntag, Marianne. That's good morning in Bisaya. Uh, yeah. Yeah, I get distracted. Of course, Marianne would distract me. If you saw Marianne, you'd know why. Yeah, so they approved that, and yeah, ended up getting awarded a big old wood king size waterbed. Oh, I was saying my parents rebelled against it. God, my brain is farting way too much these days. And all right, OG, thanks for dropping in even for a short time. Hit the like button if you didn't already. And girl in the mirror, what's up? Yeah, I had to twist my mom and dad's arm just to get them to wear their seatbelt. And I was driving, I had my own vehicle. I ended up getting a Toyota truck uh, to replace my Datsun 310 hatchback, and ended up putting a Weber carburetor on it, and that was and oversized tires, and I put a shell on the back with a do-it-yourself bed and curtains, and I went everywhere in that thing. I went to Yosemite and traveled all over in that truck. But I would I would get in little arguments with my mom and dad when they would get in the car and I'd be driving. I'd say, "Please put your seatbelt on." They're like, "Oh, Gary, you're being paranoid." And I'm like, "Are you serious? What else needs to happen for you to realize that you just about lost your son?" And yet they were telling me I'm the paranoid one. "Oh, you're just paranoid. Just drive." And I'd say, "Nope, ain't going anywhere." And I'd sit there and just sit by the curb until they put their seatbelt on. Imagine that. But yeah, it just kind of goes to show you the mindset of people, of us, I should say, back then. Well, Marianne, I would tell you where everybody is from, but I know uh, a few of them. Josh is here in the United States, and Don, that is Ruck, he's in the United States, and Matthew. And what were you what were you going to update me on the Volkswagen Jetta, Matthew? Oh, and Girl in the Mirror, she's in the Philippines as well. She's in the northern province in the Manila, the capital of the Philippines area, in that general location. John, where are you, John? And West Coast Buckeye. So you're from Ohio, but you're on the West Coast? Sounds like me. I'm from the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. What the heck? Mithy, where'd you go? You got my attention and I I never heard from you. Jonathan, the tour, V tour. I'm sitting here lipping. Hangman's coming down from the gallows. I'm rereading his post. That's awesome. And we could go on and on and on about bands, that were popular on the radio. They just filled the airwaves back then, didn't they? Yeah, there you go. Well, I mentioned Josh. I lived there in Washington County, right above Tualatin and Hillsboro. And I lived out near what was the name of the two more rural towns heading west from Hillsboro. The one is starts with an F. That's the one that's furthest out. Um, and then I lived in the one before that. It starts with an R. Uh, why do I have a brain fart about those two places? Yeah, and I told you the story about seeing Blue Oyster Cult down there at the what theater is that again? The Fox? Is that the Fox Theater downtown Portland? Oh, Josh, I got to tell you a story about Oregon. Oh my gosh. Uh, well, here, speaking of emergency medicine and not calls that I ran, but calls that I were involved in. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Girl in the Mirror, for keeping me running in the background. So I mentioned before I got a job as a paramedic up in Washington County, and I'm heading up there to start my job. I'm actually doing the move. I'm starting the move. My wife at the time and two kids are back in Claremont, San Diego, and they're going to meet me up there. But they've got to complete the sale of the house and then pack everything up, and the movers are going to move our furniture, and she and my little boy are going to fly up and meet me. I'm sorry. She and my two kids are going to fly up to Oregon and meet me. But that's still a month or more away. And I'm driving solo up there. And my sister's husband at the time lived up in Albany. And I decided to use his place as a place to stay before I, arrived up in the Portland area. So as I enter Oregon, and I eventually get up to Albany, I stop there and I stay the night. and actually I might have stayed a couple nights. And I decided to turn it into yeah, the Fox, thank you. Um, into a vacation as much as I could since I'm heading through some country I'd never been in before. Actually, I had. I did some rock climbing up at Smith Rocks with my family. So I'd made that drive once before, but this was by myself. And I stopped at my brother-in-law's house. He lived in his dad lived ah, gosh, I almost want to say it was near Smith Rocks, but a gorgeous place by the Willamette River. And right on the river's edge, backyard, there was a little dock, little private dock he had in the back for his canoe. And I wanted to, I just wanted to experience as much as I could on the way there before I started my new job as a paramedic. So he's like, "Hey, I got an idea. Um, it's been raining and the water level's up, but um, yeah, why don't I there's a route that we used to take from point A to point B. It was actually from his place to this um, something landing. The Willamette goes underneath I-5, and then on the other side, on the west side of I-5, is some landing over there where the Willamette settles down, and there's an exit you can get out, and then park one car, at point A, park the other car down at the landing, and then you get out, and put the canoe on top, portage it back to the first car, and voila. Peyton, welcome back. So it was like, let's do that. We used to do that all the time. And he knew the route. So he was our unofficial tour guide. And a best friend of mine was traveling with me to help me with the drive. As a matter of fact, how did I do this? His name was Joe. Joe died back in 2017 now, but he he came up there with me. He wasn't doing a tandem. He was driving with me. He was helping me do the drive. And then I think he flew back home. I'm second guessing as to whether he drove my car back to San Diego, but no, because I needed a car and we only had one vehicle. And that's not only the reason why my wife and kids flew, but they weren't going to drive by themselves. So, anyway, so yeah, the movers were going to move the furniture and they were going to fly. Joe, I believe, took a flight back home. Well, he's with me at what's the Buckeyes name? Uh, the Ohio Buckeyes, Ohio State University, OSU. Greg, I've always wanted to visit Oregon, but furthest west I've gone is Utah, which is beautiful. Where are you, Greg? Um, maybe I already know this answer, but maybe I don't. Are you in New Jersey, Greg? I'm trying to recall what. So, anyways, while you're answering that, Joe's with me. And he's just to describe Joe. Joe's from Boston, Massachusetts. He's at the time living down in South. Actually, he was living in Chula Vista, Don and Don. And so he's with me. He stands like 6'4", tall, thin kid, um, brown hair, thin, and he was actually he was the sailor from Boston, Massachusetts, and he got me sailing, and became another addiction. Just loved it, and so he's with me. So we have if you want to call him a professional sailor, a paramedic, and Randy's a Navy airman, United States Navy, and he's on the sub warfare, the S3 Viking. It's a fixed wing aircraft with it's like those radar with the disc on top, but not as large as the largest one that we see in the, I forget what the name of those things are. But this is a smaller sub warfare, submarine warfare, anti submarine warfare, and on a S3 Viking. So we've got a professional, military man, a paramedic. I wasn't in the Navy yet, and let's see, what year was that? It was 1996. So I was 34 years old. 34. Yeah, I didn't join the service until 37. Um, and we're in a canoe. Randy's at the stern. He's doing the steering, of course. He's the more experienced, and I'm in the middle, and Joe's up front. Big tall Joe's at the bow. And the one thing we did do correctly was wear our life vests. We all had vests on, thank God. Zonez, and that's right, too rainy. Yeah, that's the Oregon sunshine, Josh. Yeah. Um, so Randy's already got it down. We drove one vehicle, to the landing, and then drove back. All three of us got in the canoe, and the river was swollen. It was actually actively raining when we launched. And I remember Randy saying, "Whoa, the dock was kind of submerged a bit." He could tell by the level of the water up on the bank that the river was pretty swollen. And so I didn't really know what that meant, as far as the pros and cons, the safety issues that brought. And I remember we cast off, and his dad had a beautiful golden retriever, and I forget his name. Just a beautiful, as beautiful golden retrievers are. And he leaps out in the water, and he's swimming right next to us. And Randy kept saying, "It's my brother-in-law, Randy." He kept telling him to go back, get back there, go on, whatever he commands he's giving him. And the dog's just happy as can be, swimming right next to us. And eventually he gets the word, he gets the message, and he peels off, the dog does, and he starts heading back. Well, as he's heading back, Randy's kind of watching him as he's heading back, and he's like, "Uh-oh, he's getting tangled up in those reeds at the shoreline." He's like, "Oh crap, he just went under." And he yells his name, and all of a sudden he pops back up, and you can tell the dog's struggling with the current to get back to the shoreline, because he's getting all hung up in the debris and the reeds. And eventually he gets his way back to the shoreline. And that was like the first clue. I think Randy's, kind of level of anxiety started to go up, like, rutro, this river's moving at a pretty good clip, I remember him saying. And I'm like, "Is it?" And he's like, "Yeah, look at the shoreline." And we're cruising along. You know how deceiving that is. You're all three of us are paddling, and I'm looking up the shoreline, and you're trying to gauge how fast we're going. And Randy's like, "Dude, we're moving." And everything kind of got quiet, and we're still paddling. He's steering us over to the right, or down the middle. And all of a sudden, as we're heading down, it's only like a 20-minute trip, or supposed to be a 20-minute trip, or whatever it was, half hour, 20 minutes. We end up at this one point, this kind of blind bend in the river that starts to hit dog leg to the left. And he's like, "You guys, shh, listen." And we all get quiet, and all of a sudden we're like, "Whoa." He goes, hear that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, what is that?" He's like, "That's water." And I'm like, "Waterfall?" He's like, "No, dude, there's no waterfall on this, but that's fast moving water." And as we make this clear this bend off to the, as it starts to turn to the left, it was frightening what we saw. It looked like a dam broke, and the water is just tumultuous. It's in the distance, way in the distance, but you can see it. It is just roaring, leaping over boulders. It looked like just HELL. And Randy's like, guys, paddle. We're moving. We're going to shore this. We're going to beach this thing to the right. See the sandbar over to the right? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, paddle now. So, yeah, well, hold that thought, Josh. And we're paddling like mad, 3 grown men, and he's steering this thing, and the kayak, I keep calling it a kayak. The canoe is just broadside, and it's drifting, and it's drifting sideways, even though the nose, the bow is pointing to where we need to go. We're just not gaining any ground to where we need to go. And Interstate 5 is in front of us, the bridge. He already told us that we would be going underneath I-5, to get to the landing is not too far on the other side of I-5. And the water level is 3 feet from the top. I'm sorry, from the bottom of the bridge. He said normally it's like 15 feet. And you go under the bridge. There's a 3-foot gap, and it is just blocked with debris. To the left of it is that tumultuous, just rapid, crazy looking, horrible. And we're not gaining ground fast enough to get over to the right. And he said, you guys, we're going to broadside this thing up against that telephone pole. There was a downed telephone pole that had floated its way and butted itself up against all the debris at the bottom of that bridge, amongst unbelievable amount of debris that had been, you can imagine, that had pushed against the bottom of that bridge. And there was a 30-foot telephone pole just dead up against that debris. And he said, you guys, I'm going to broadside this thing right up against that. He says, whatever you do, don't lose your paddles. And it was like total emergency. We're like, oh my, what are we going to do? I don't know, but we're going to broadside the canoe up against this telephone pole. He said, whatever you do, don't lose your paddles. I think he did say, just get out of the kayak and get on top of that debris. And it was just like, where eyeballs must have been, this giant. And we ended up drifting. We ended up broadsiding that telephone pole. And as soon as we hit that telephone pole, that canoe went and just got sucked underneath like that quick. It disappeared out from underneath us, and our bodies went right up against this telephone pole, our torso, and we were getting sucked under like, no, I've never experienced. Speaking of emergencies, Josh, this was horrendous. I was able to get my torso enough. We had life jackets on, so that was kind of impeding us as well. But thank God we had our life jackets on. And I was able to get my body fighting with my arms. It was like trying to get over a log in the Marine Physical Fitness PT course, where you throw yourself up against the log and you got to get your leg wrapped over the top of it. Well, thank God I was able to get my leg up and over it, and I was able to straddle it. And I look up, and Randy has already done that. He's straddling the telephone pole. Joe's in the middle, and he's got his life vest kind of sucked up around his neck, and he's like way underneath there, and he's 6 feet 4 inches tall, and his head's the only thing, and his life vest is just submerged, and he's like, guys, I'm going under. And I'm like, no, you're not. And I remember reaching under the water, and I grabbed his Levi's. He had Levi's on, and Randy did the same thing, and he grabbed his upper torso. and we actually won the fight, and we got Joe's leg up and over the telephone pole, and he was able to shimmy over his body, and then all three of us like wet rats are sitting there on this telephone pole with the current just sucking underneath us, and 3 feet of gap from the bottom of the bridge, and there's just nothing but debris, and the noise was just deafening from the rapids to the left of us. And we were able to shimmy our way backwards onto this telephone pole to the end of the log, and then that's where the debris actually climbed its way up to the bridge, and we were able to do our little bit of climbing through all this debris, and eventually up onto the bridge abutment. And then we got up on the railing, and then we went over the railing, and now we're on Interstate 5. And we're walking along the right shoulder along the railing, completely soaking, dripping wet. And we got off the bridge, and then there was an exit, and we reached the exit, and there was actually some retired elderly men who decided to drive one of their own trailer off of this off ramp, and they set up a little makeshift coffee shop for the travelers to stop at. There was no convenience store or gas station, but they set up their trailer and their trucks and opened up the window and were serving coffee to. And we came across this. They're like, "Whoa, what happened to you guys?" We're shaking our heads, like, "You don't want to know." And we ended up telling them, and they're like, "God, thank God you're alive." And we're like, "Unbelievable." So we ended up calling my sister. I don't know where she was. And Randy, her husband at the time, was trying to tell her, just come and get us. And she's like, "What happened? What happened? Why are you guys there?" And he's just come and get us. And then eventually she got the word of what happened. And she's like, "Oh my gosh." And she gave us a ride to the landing where we got the second car. And you know what? We came back the next day, or was it that evening? Maybe it was the next day. And Randy was determined to recover his kayak, and I mean his canoe, because it wasn't his canoe, it was his dad's. And he was afraid what his dad was going to say, because it was a canoe that had been kept through the years, down the family line, and he wanted to get that thing back in his dad's hand. Well, we actually used a come along, and we couldn't get that thing out from underneath the water. It was so pinned, and there was so much force that we ended up just ripping the thing apart in an attempt to try to pull that thing from underneath the debris. And it started coming apart. And Randy, eventually, we finally said, like, after 4 hours of trying, you know, let's, we're going to nix this idea. And I'm like, dude, I could have told you that 3 hours ago. But, anyways, oh my God. And, and if to this day, I still have that kind of phobia of getting into that position ever again. That was horrendous. Yeah. Um, yeah. So back to your story. I love the kayak, but I had this bad experience when I was in the ocean off the Florida coast. Had a shark come bump the boat. Never been back. It wasn't a great white, but I think a black tip. Yeah, I've got my own philosophy behind Letitia. People will do anything for validation. Uh, you lost me, Letitia. I'm sorry. Did it something I said? Sean, you're back with the um, Albania flag. Yeah, I was gonna say, now that I'm in a kayak, even though it's a sit on top and stable, really stable compared to a recreational kayak, but because of that, I've been searching YouTube channels and bass fishing in kayaks and any fishing in a kayak and come across these posts, whether they're shorts or videos of people having shark experiences in kayaks. And the first thing I'm going to ask you, Josh, is what color was your kayak? Just curious. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Josh. I was trying to figure that out as well. People will do anything for validation. No idea. So yeah, just curious, what color was your kayak? And my first guess is it was something neon. It was either green or yellow or orange or red. I think I'm guessing here on her question, people will do anything for validation. Um, she's talking about herself. That's my guess, based on her profile picture. Just a wild guess there, Letitia. Yeah, what color was the kayak, Josh? I can kind of elaborate as I'm waiting for you to answer. Is most of the time where these people are experiencing, shark encounters in kayaks, it's because their kayak looks like a um, gotcha, Josh. Um, Most of the time, the kayaks they look like lures, big lures. Because I know now, in bass fishing, what works, and chartreuse is my go-to. When it comes to senkos and or frogs or anything, crankbaits and others. Though those chartreuse, those bright colors tend to can during certain times of the season, attract a fish's attention. So when I see a shark hit a yellow kayak, I'm like, duh. that's and that's what I see most of the time. It was oh my gosh, really? Was it really actually clear, see through? Oh my lord. Well, it doesn't surprise me that a fish would hit anything. I guess any color. The chain pickerel, here in New Jersey, are all about clear, shiny, flashy things. You throw anything, a spoon, a crankbait, a jerk bait, anything. Although um, pickerel will hit anything a bass hits, but if you throw a little shiny crankbait or spinner bait or something out there, guarantee you're more than likely going to get a pickerel. So see through, shiny, flashy, something, especially if he can see you moving inside your kayak from below. Well, here, let me brighten the now that I'm kind of calming down with uh my narrative here. I can put the elevator music back on. Was it a fishing setup, a sit on top, or was it a sit in sit inside? James. Oh, yeah, earlier, sorry, I did see you say that, and for some reason, I'm getting lost when, I'm hearing that expression, but then I figured it out when Don said the same thing. He said, "First time I've seen you without a cover." And then I realized, "Oh, without my cover on." And now you said the same thing. You said it earlier as well. Zonaz. Oh, oh, give me 1 second. Honey, honey, Althea. I just I just realized they have Hiligaynon translation on Google, and I didn't know that. Maybe it's been there the whole time. I just wasn't looking for it. So, oh. Anyways, my wife's dialect is Ilonggo from Iloilo, Philippines, and I've been using translator ever since I decided to try to learn, the root dialect of the Philippines, which is Tagalog, and that's in there. And Bisaya or Visaya, that's the middle region, and the South dialect. Majority of them speak Bisaya further south. So I've used those to help me, under copy and paste or try to learn something I didn't know. But my wife's dialect is also a Visayan dialect, but it's specific. It has its own words and so on. And I never saw Ilongo in Google Translate. And that's, if I remember correctly, that's pretty much what I was looking for. Was looking for an Ilongo translation, and I could never find one. I'd look elsewhere on, the internet looking for a Ilongo translator, and I was always bombing out when trying to find one of those, an efficient one translator. And then just today, when I was doing some translation on a live stream, I happened to see Hiligaynon, which is basically equivalent to Ilongo. It's just more of a rural version of Ilongo, like up in the mountains, and or as they say, up in the province. But it's a translator for her dialect. And it's like, gosh, has it been there the whole time? And I never knew it, for how long? 3.5 years. So now I know. Yeah, I bet it was, Josh. And that's a kind of an out of control situation where, you don't want to go right back and put yourself in that position again where it could happen again. What are you going to do about it? Did you see the really radical um, shark? Aiden. Yeah, unstable can make things much worse. I've already been there, tried that. I didn't have my kayak. I was trying to kind of moonlight in this private uh, trailer park area, resort area, and it was private, but I went back there anyways and saw that they had those pedal, those pedal craft for, the tourists to go out on the water, as well as two sit-in kayaks, much smaller, 10 foot, 12 foot. And so I decided, well, let me try this. I got my poles and my tackle in the back of my car. So I went and got it, and nonchalantly, like I, own the place, went out there and loaded up a kayak and got in, and immediately, as soon as I sat in it and pushed myself out on the water, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. This isn't like the sit on top ones. And I realized, okay, this is a disaster waiting to happen. So I turned myself around, or back paddled back to the shoreline and got out. And I got in one of those pedal, you know, uh, tandem, side by side pedal craft. And I went out there and never got any feedback, or never met any resistance from the owner or the manager of the place. And then I eventually launched my kayak off my trailer, or put wheels on it and rolled it out to the edge. And then eventually I came back a second day, because I got away with it the first day. And the second day, I finally got approached by the manager of the place and said, "Nah, can't have you here. Sorry. The residents pay money to stock trout in this place, so I can't have you here." I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm not fishing for trout, nor do I even. I said I have a YouTube channel, and I'm trying to I'm looking for content in my YouTube channel, if that would be okay. He's like, "No, I'm sorry. I don't want to." And so basically he didn't know. He didn't know what he was, what he was allowing or wasn't allowing. So, oh well. And it was a good fishing place too. And I catch and release, I told him. I said, "I'm not interested in your trout." So they don't have to worry about that. All right, Aiden. Yeah, I have won't go into detail, but uh, a how do I put this? An appointment on Wednesday afternoon that has been almost 2 years in the making, and I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not looking forward to it. But I want it to be over, if anybody can read between the lines. And yeah, hopefully that'll be said and done with on Wednesday afternoon. Yeah, those that do, pray for me that I am done with this fiasco on Wednesday afternoon at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Exactly. I rented it for the day, had it for an hour, gave it back. Forget this crap. Oh my God. And you went off the coast out in the ocean. That's a good way to learn. Yeah, I might have mentioned I went down to Florida here in the recent past and saw my daughter and grandkids, and I towed my 14-foot tandem pedal kayak, with a trolling motor and yada yada yada, and had a good time. Didn't catch anything, but it was fun to be down there with it, and I got to go out on my daughter and son-in-law's boat. They've got a forget what kind it's like a whaler with a fishing uh, console, captain's uh, console in the middle, and they took me out to a sandbar that people frequent to go anchor and hang out, fish, and so on and so forth. As soon as I sat in, that's right, the thing flipped. I know. Well, I was struggling at the very start, and that's when I realized, okay, no, 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 this ain't gonna work. This is not gonna work. I'm not gonna be able to relax and fish. I'm gonna be fighting to not flip this thing the whole time. Where my sit on top, you're familiar with them, I'm sure. I can walk, although there's a lot of obstacles that I have to step over because it's got bulkheads, and where the front compartment is separated from the rear. Front seat is separated from the rear. It's got what you would call a bulkhead, a piece of plastic separating the kayak. I have to step over that, as well as the pedals that are in my slot. But I can walk from my chair precariously, step over the pedal drive into the front seat by myself without any, too much less issues than what you and I are talking about in these rented kayaks. And if I can do that, then it's stable. And I can reverse my steps. I have to literally walk backwards. I can turn around and hand myself, hang on to the stable objects, the fish finder, the pedal drive, and step over everything, and then get myself back in the rear seat. And if you can do that in a kayak, that thing's pretty darn stable. With a motor up front, a trolling motor. Oh, speaking of, I need to write an email to the it's called a auto boat. It's a GPS motor system that attaches to turns virtually any trolling motor into a spot lock system anchor, where GPS turns it and navigates it and locks onto a GPS coordinate, et cetera, et cetera. It's got a brain, and it's got a short in one of the wires for the second time on the GPS device. The wire that powers the GPS puck, they call it, has got a short in it, and I'm losing my GPS connection throughout the day, and it just sucks. And I didn't pay for that, but I'm working with them and they're working with me, and I don't mind sending it back, just as long as they don't charge me anything and send me a replacement, I'm good to go. And this is going to be the second one. So yeah, and I contacted them. They acknowledged me. They weren't quite clear as to what I was requesting or what I was saying, so I clarified, and then I haven't heard from them. That was 2 weeks ago. Like, what happened? It's like they dropped off the face of the earth. So I got to email them again or call them and say, I need another GPS part, GPS puck. Because it is pretty high speed, as you can imagine, Josh. You don't have to worry about anchoring. It's hands-free. You just push the fob that's hanging off of my PFD, the remote, and hit anchor, and the brain takes care of the rest of it. It locks you onto a GPS coordinate, and no matter, the wind can be blowing 20 knots. I've been there, done that. It gets blown around in that much wind, but it's always fighting to get back to that GPS coordinate. And you can literally you can run into emergencies on your boat. Been there, already done it. You get a hook lodged in your skin, or you're having to retie, everything that's involved. You don't have to worry about it. You just sit there and do it in your boat, and don't worry about the wind blowing your craft, because it's always trying to lock back onto that point where you locked on. And it just keeps you. As you know, the wind is the biggest culprit, in any boating. When your whole craft becomes a sail, and when there's wind, that's your worst enemy. It just blows you into the reeds, and you got 4 poles sticking up, and those things get wrapped around the branches, and you're in a world of hurt. Or if you're near a dam, that's even the worst. But with that spot lock, you just lock yourself and forget about it. You let it hang there, and you start doing your fishing wherever you want to go, and that thing just locks you right on that spot. Yeah. Well, I flipped this 14-foot tandem that I'm talking about, and I remember my 80 plus year old friend that I was my sidekick for a long time. Him and I ended up capsizing that 14-foot tandem, and everything in the boat was in the water. And I was able to recover 4, was it 4? 3 of 4 poles, rods and reels. My tackle box, of course, completely submerged. It was floating, but all the loose, as they call it, what do they call it in fishing? Your not hard tackle, but your yeah, of course, is loose. That was loose, all sunk to the bottom. But we were able to get out of that situation relatively easy. Thank God the water was actually shallow enough to where it was about chest deep. And even so, our feet are buried like in 3 feet of underwater bog. And, you're in 3 feet of water or 4 feet of water. Actually, it was like 3 feet of water and 3 feet of bog underneath it. And you're literally up to your groin in debris and then water. And it was just a minor emergency with the trolling motor and the pedal drive and us in the water upside down. But I was able to get it. I looked at the timer. I actually had my my camera recording, my chest cam and my front cam that I have mounted for my videos rolling at the time, and I got all this. You can see it on my YouTube channel. It's called the Capsize or something like that, and it's got Gilligan's Island's theme song at the beginning. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale of a fateful trip that started on this tropic isle aboard this tiny ship. The mate was a mighty sailing man, the skipper brave and sure. That was my partner. He was the skipper. 2 passengers set sail, and I modified the lyrics just for us and the location we were in. 2 passengers set sail that day on a 3-hour tour. We only were out for 3 hours instead of a 5-hour tour. We were out for, or maybe we were out for 5. And then that was the end of the intro to that video. But yeah, I ended up getting some unbeknownst to me until after the fact, I got some underwater shots of, his name's Lincoln, Lincoln's body and his leg underwater while you can hear him grunting and fighting for the surface. And you can see his the camouflage pattern on his waders, not waders, but he had on a fishing bibs and parka. You can see his bibs underwater. Oh, am I still interested? Was I interested before, Matt? I'm sorry. I think we were just talking about the vehicle I had before. Remember the 2004 Mitsubishi turbocharged Sportback that I owned. Matter of fact, I was just on the Mitsubishi. I got an email from evolution.net, which I subscribed or developed an account with when I first started that turbocharge project back in 2012. And so a lot of my old posts are still on that. And whenever somebody comments on a thread that I was active in, I get an email for that. And I just happened to click on the link and went to the website. And sure enough, somebody new today is posting their story and their vehicle. And then my post was a few posts back with the car that I had before. Man, if I could show you that picture. Yeah, I'm actually, Matt, At the moment, um, we're I'm looking for another vehicle to tow a trailer, and I'm leaning more towards like an SUV, or a Jeep or something with a trailer hitch to replace the RX 350 that my wife has had, or we've had for since 2008 actually. And my 19-year-old is actually, we're going to be looking for a vehicle for him. I'm not sure what he's going to be interested in. A Jetta kind of fits that age group. Um, yeah, that's right. I think I remember you, Matt, now. I think you're a used car dealer. Is that right? Yeah, you know what I'm going to have to do? Hold on, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get a picture up and show you. Hold on. Okay, I unmuted myself. Uh, the sun is busy, of course, and I'm gonna see if I can do it with my with the phone. I'll join my own YouTube, so there'll be two of me up here in a minute, and then I'll try to share. I'm not sure if I can do it or not. I don't think I can on a phone, but we'll see. We'll see. Um, you just bought a 2023 GMC Denali pickup? Well, that's kind of the the mindset that I'm not necessarily. I don't know if I necessarily need a truck, but you know what I found? Check this out. Listen to this. What do you think? What do you think about this? This is crazy. I found here in New Jersey, up in somewhere not too far from me, somewhere in New Jersey, or maybe it's PA up near Philly. There's some car dealer up there that has a right-hand drive. Listen to this. Let me see. Right here. Used Toyota Land Cruiser. A right-hand drive used Toyota Land Cruiser. 2000, no, 1998. A 1998 used Toyota Land Cruiser with 104,000 miles on it for $11,700. And that got my attention. I'm like, are you kidding me? This thing is in, for the age, this thing is in incredible condition. I mean, not new. It's just got its typical, how many years is that? 15, 16 plus 26 years. 26-year-old 1998 Toyota Land Cruiser V8. I'm sure it's a gas guzzler, but it shows everything. It shows the undercarriage, it shows the engine compartment, it shows the interior, it's like all original, and it's right-hand drive. for $11,800. I got to look into it even more. It's like I got to make sure this is like close by and call them and say, do you guys really have this? Would it be worth buying something like that with $104,000? What is that? A Subaru Baja. Okay, anyways, back to what I was trying to do here. Let me see. What do you think about a vehicle like that? It's like I'd get another 100+ thousand miles out of that car. You know, this Lexus, 2008 Lexus, I've got just over 200,000 miles on it, or approaching 200,000 miles on it. It's like at 190, I think. And this 1998, 10 years older, has only 104,000 miles on it. Actually, I got a question. The listing says 108,000, I think, but I see the odometer, and the odometer says 168. So I'm wondering why or how the discrepancy. You guys can hear me okay still? I take it. Just checking. So anyhow, yeah, let me oh, you know what? I need to post the link here so I can join my. Yeah, I know. And the price, 11,800, 104 or 108,000. I think it's 100. They're listing it at 104, but I can see the odometer. I can zoom in on the odometer. It says 168, and I'm wondering. I was trying to figure out, how can that be? Give them the benefit of the doubt. What did they do to the engine that it only has 104, although the odometer says 168? Oh, I know, but you know what? I've never driven one before, but for that price and the condition that it's in, you should see it. See if I can get it up here. Hold on, I'm not I'm not inviting anybody up here on the panel, or up on the stage, I should say. Um, but I need to post this link in order uh, to click on it myself and join my own stage here. Let's see here. Give me a second. Now, why can't I click on that? Why is that not clickable? Even I can't click on it. What's the deal with that? This was kind of what I ran into the other day too. Why am I not able to click on that? All right. This is interesting here. Wow, 2008 with 240? Holy moly. Okay, guys, why am I not able to click on that link of my own? I'm able to join my live stream all the time, but now I can't click on my own. It's not clickable. Why not? All right, this is bizarre here. Help. Oh my lordy be. Oh, I'm not a moderator. Okay, I got it. I got it. I just figured out my own now. I think. No, it's me. I don't have to make myself a moderator. What the heck? All right. I don't know. I don't know how or why I can't click on my own link. Anybody? What am I doing? What am I doing wrong here? Kind of weird. Okay, I just deleted it. Hmm. Hmm. Things that make you go, hmm. Uh, yeah, I've joined my live streams before and I didn't have a problem. Oh, you know what? Maybe because I'm in vertical. No, it's not vertical. I don't think. All right. This is getting hold on a second. Before they borrow, make sure you have the following: lap or desktop. A laptop or desktop? I've joined with my phone before. Yeah, it says you can join on your mobile device, such as phone, tablet. I'm in the Chrome web browser. Um, Standby. Hmm. I think what I'm encountering is a an Xbox. It would be so much easier if I was using a laptop. I don't have to worry about any of this. Okay. See, my name is not Blue, although yeah, I'm the host. So my mine shows up yellow here on the phone. But the link that I'm posting is not clickable. Are you able to click on that StreamYard link, Josh? It's like it's not clickable. I can't. It's like I can't click on it. It's like you can always drop back down, but see if it's clickable. That'll bring you up here. Well, it'll start the process of putting you up on stage. But yeah, just tell me if it's clickable. That link that I just dropped. All right. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna stop the cam and go to Google Photos and see if I can find this here real quick. I'll be right back. I'm still here. I'm gonna try to. Let's see. I should be able to share screen and see. This is where this is hit and miss. It's very fickle. But I'm gonna try it. See if you can see this here. Okay. This is that Land Cruiser I'm talking about here. Check this out. 1998 Toyota Land Cruiser. Check that out. I can't see your comments right now, but I can see that it's sharing. Oh, I just lost it. There it goes. I think it's still. Yep. And is that full screen? Okay. Sorry about that. Well, it was working there momentarily. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's gonna suck gas like no how. But yeah, it's got like 48 pictures, of the vehicle of every angle you can think of. Even undercarriage and just the weathering of everything. And it looks like it's all in original condition. Even the tires look like they need replaced. The rubber is starting to crack. So it looks like this thing has been like probably in a garage or something, or maybe inside of a showcase inside this, wherever it is. But I wonder if it runs and, um, it's all roadworthy. And where'd it come from? What's it doing right-hand drive? I had to make sure, am I looking at a photo that's been flipped, you know? And no, it's it's right-hand drive. Unless it is backwards, because I've seen, phone photos taken from people, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're on the right hand driving that thing. And I know it's not a right hand drive. So maybe it is. Oh, yeah. So anyways, let's see if I can get my picture. I was going to try to, yeah, why in the heck can't I join my own live stream? I should be able to. I wonder if it has something to do with this vertical live. Although this isn't YouTube, this is StreamYard. It might have something to do with that. Yeah, let me try one more thing here. Oops. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. Again, if I disappear, I'll be right back. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, good. Give me a second. I'm having my son get this picture. Um, yeah, just keep scrolling until you see my car. Probably 2000. Well, just one photo I'm looking for. Keep going. Oh, here we go. Um, put that one and share that with my email. Email it to me. Or yeah, just save it. There you go. And then actually, you don't have to email it. Sorry, you can do it right from StreamYard. Forgot. Just turn off your cam. There you go. And not video clips. but background. Can you? No, it's a video. Remember, it only looks for videos. What's that? I can't hear you. Oh, sorry guys. Hold, give me 1 second. Okay, guys, I'm back. I got the photos up. Let me show you this real quick. Give me 1 sec here. Sorry about that. Let me read your comments. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. Yeah, my son just downloaded. Check this out, Josh. I got a midlife crisis at 50 years old, and I decided to modify. My brother-in-law, being a Filipino, younger, like 10 years plus my younger, closer to 15 years, he sees my vehicle, and he's like, "Oh, dude, that's a rare car." And I said, "What do you mean rare?" And then one thing leads to the other, and I'm beginning the modification, entering the modification circles of um, Mitsubishi, a Mitsubishi vehicle. And then one thing led to the other, and then somebody mentioned something about turbocharging, and I'm like, God, I've heard of that before. What exactly is that again? How's that work? And then next thing you know, I'm full on committed into this this rabbit hole, this hook, and I find this Mitsubishi website, and I'm putting my foot in my mouth a bunch. I don't know what I'm talking about, and these guys are actually really, really gentle in settling me down and making me kind of holding my hand and walking me through, what it is that I'm truly asking about. And I just happened to walk into um, a a duo up in Ottawa and Ontario, Canada, who got together and started a production package. Actually, it was a do-it-yourself project at first, but their goal was to put this into production and sell the idea to a company. Not only the product, but the whole package, which involved the actual turbocharged kit and the electronic tuning that went with it. And the two guys one guy was more of a mechanic, or they both are mechanics and fabricators. But the one guy has a steep knowledge of computer programming, and he was the tuner. So they put together this package for a particular Mitsubishi and sold it to a company in Connecticut, here in the United States. It was Connecticut, I believe, Connecticut, and turbokits.com, as a matter of fact. And they were going into production with it, and we're going to sell it to the, to you and I, for a price. And it included not only the tune, but included the software along with this package, and it was like $4,000, and that was pretty competitive with other vehicles that were being turbocharged. And so that got my attention, but it wasn't for my vehicle. It was for a manual 2004, 2005 Lancer sedan, which mine's an automatic. And, I've never owned an automatic before in my life until I got married and then, started buying automatic vehicles. So, it was like a total question mark as far as, well, wait a minute, I don't even know anything about turbocharging, yet alone on a manual vehicle. I mean, on a manual vehicle, let alone on an automatic. So it was like, so is this doable? And they're like, oh yeah, it's doable, but. And then I started going down that road with these guys up in Ottawa, Canada, and asking, so if I decide to do this, you guys gonna help me out? And they're like, yeah, sure. Are you serious about doing it? And I was like, I don't know yet, but talk to me. And then 11 months later, call it a year later, I turbocharged my automatic Mitsubishi wagon, front wheel drive only. And here's what I ended up with. It was quite the, and here's what I gave away. But I think you'll be impressed. My whole intent, now remember, I'm 50 years old at the time. And just getting in this vehicle and out of this vehicle turned a lot of heads, because typically a young, 20, 30-year-old would be walking out of a car like this. But for a 50-year-old, they're like, I even had young guys going, well, that's different. And I'm like, what, the car? They said, yeah, but you getting out of that car. And then he said, wow, and they're all full of compliments and walking around the vehicle and checking it out and so on and so forth. So, okay, no more further ado. I'll show you the vehicle here. This was one winter when I finally got it. Oh, I was saying, I started this project with, yeah. Oh my gosh, you had one too, Sunfish? Dude. That's right, just a little bit. That's all I did. And I got 250 horsepower out of this. And that was the max. The guys up in Ottawa were all over this. Matter of fact, the guy from Russia was posting on the Mitsubishi site, and he was doing the same thing. And he was full of knowledge, and he educated, a super good teacher. And he educated me as well as others as far as, what the maximum for this 2.4 liter, I'm sorry, 2.4 liter. What was the vehicle again? It was 4.9? No. 2.4 liter is this is a, what was the name of the engine again? 2.4 liter, 4G69. I'm sorry, that was the number I was thinking of. It's 4G69 motor, 2.4 liter. This Russian guy told us, in this article, a super, really cool written article, and he gave all the specs, and he was like telling people, this is what, when you do this to a 2.4, this engine, you're going to have a fast car for the engine, but you're not going to be able to go over 10% of what the liter of the engine is. So if it's 2.4 liter, just add a 0. He says 240 is pretty much the max. 240 wheel horsepower. And it was interesting, super good write-up that he did on that. He says, but even so, at 240 horsepower, he says, you're going to have yourself a fast little car for its size. And they actually did the guy up in Ontario did a max test, a stress test on what is it? The lift, not the lifters, but the piston,
Rods. Thank you. God, I'm not a mechanic. I'm a paramedic. On the rods, and he broke the engine, and he did it at 300 horsepower. But I mean, we're talking he only held that 300 horsepower for a few seconds, and he broke it. But he did it on purpose, and he broke it on purpose to see what the max for the factory hardware for that engine. So we come to the conclusion that 240, 250 was pretty much you're pushing it anything above that. And speaking of boost, all you needed that was at 10 psi, and I actually ran mine at 10 or 12, somewhere in between there. And and I got 240 horsepower, wheel horsepower, front wheel drive, and you couldn't keep the rubber on the road very well. They would just spin the tires, up front. But I actually did it, and I'm not even a mechanic, actually, with a lot of help from my friends, but they were really influential as to why I succeeded in this. And here's what I end up. Yeah, that's right. 240 horsepower at 160. You did your homework. Thank you very much, Sunfish. 160 is stock. Actually, it's 140. That's not wheel horsepower. That's just 140 horsepower. But wheel horsepower, it was opposite. Wait. It was 160 horsepower. The wheel horsepower was like 149. But even so, that's like a full 100 horsepower wheel horsepower gain out of that engine. And dang it, Sunfish, I finally got my Lancer got ran over by an 18-wheeler. Oh my gosh. Were you in it? Oh my, what? So anyhow, I learned a bunch, and even so, I was just a beginner. But the whole reason for eventually, I realized that what I wanted to do was to be able to experience a road race course, not a quarter mile, even though I did that too, and there's nothing to brag about. But um, the whole build eventually became putting it on a road race course. So everything I did to it was geared towards the suspension, the modifications, the body mods, and all of it was geared towards putting it on a road race course, and to be able to drive 2.5 miles or 2 mile around a 2 mile road race course, and to be able to do a little more with it than stock. And when I did that, when I took that mindset, this is what came out of that. And people are always building cars, for all show, no go. They're building it for the looks, for the car shows to be able to show it and so on. Well, I went more towards putting it on a road race course, and the looks took care of it. And you didn't have to build it for the looks. Just by keeping that road race mentality in my head, this is what came of it. And I was like, this thing looks pretty cool. So yeah, let me stop chatting and put this up there for you. Where is it here? It's underneath here. Here we go. This was during the winter, and I got the rims that I wanted for it. I was actually I was trying to copy. Oh, my battery just went out, but I'll show you the car at the same time here. Let's see here. If that does it. Nope, that one doesn't do it. Okay. How about now? No? No sound, no sound, no sound. Yeah, it says I've got sound. I've got good sound. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. No sound? Ah, I'm good. Okay, okay. It must have been a glitch because I was getting my sound bar was working, but you guys apparently couldn't hear me. So, anyways, I was just finishing up with the bill. I was saying Sunfish. I didn't realize you actually saw this on Evolution.net. That was me. I was Truth Dweller. That was the username I was using. Yep. And do you remember Hackish? Do you remember that username by any chance on evolutionm.net? Hackish, Hackish. That was the guy up in Ottawa. I actually drove up there and got the tune from him. He tuned my car after we were successful. And then I drove it all the way across the United States. I drove that vehicle, as you saw it, all the way to San Diego from Ottawa, Canada. Wow, what a small world. I met Sunfish for Fish years ago on live stream, and him and Peachtree, another guy. And who would have known, that I yeah. And the other guy, he was a younger kid in Ontario as well. Um, he was really influential. I ended up stopping by his house and meeting him and his family and his kids there in Ontario, right by the lake. He actually lived right on the lake, right off the lake, I should say. He was a younger, like my son's age, in his 30s at the time. But yeah, I was saying I didn't realize the format. I forgot the format was going to eat up um, the most of the picture. Forgot about that. I only ended up playing with New Jersey Motorsports Park here in Millville, New Jersey. And then I got word of a new track that was just opened, brand new, up in Ware, Massachusetts. And it was basically a 2-mile course going up in elevation up to the top of a hill or mountain and then back down. And that was wild. That was cool. That was really cool. So I got to tandem with speaking of Subaru, the Mitsubishi Subaru, competitors. I actually had a kid who was super interested in eyeballing my car. So he's like, "Hey, let's go around the track together if you don't mind." I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." We had some rules we had to abide by, as far as passing and so on. We couldn't just do it haphazardly. We had actually used hand signals if we were going to pass for safety purposes until you advanced into more, advanced levels of experience. And I was able to advance into intermediate, and then that's as far as I got. And were asked to come back. I became a promotional, what do you want to call it? Part of the promotion of Track Night in America, TNIA, and started, giving out discount codes. And in return of doing that for them, they gave me free track time. So I was able to go there, after so many discount codes, and got like an hour's worth of free track time, which one session is 20 minutes. You go out for 4 sessions, 4 5-minute sessions per day, and that's 20 minutes. So you get to go on the track 4 times just for 20 minutes, and they would give me an hour's worth. So I got like 5 days, of free track time, which was super cool. All you had to do was pay for your gas and the upkeep of your vehicle while you were there on the track. And they asked me to step into the beginner section because they needed people to fill. So do you mind if you step down into the beginner class? And I'm like, no, not at all. It's fun. I don't care. You just go out there and pass everybody. And I would find those that were, Josh, in that one photo, speaking of your Charger, there were 5.0 Mustangs out on the course, and I used to pass them all the time. And it's not about, as you know, it's not about power, especially on a road race course. No. Power just gets you in trouble out there. Power is good for a quarter-mile track. But as far as, you know what I'm saying, the setup of the vehicle and so on and so forth. If it's not set up, power is like your worst enemy. You're just gonna spin the thing like a top, you know. Woo, 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 woo. But I had speaking of these two kids in a 5.0 Mustang, and they were out at Millville Motorsports Park here in New Jersey. And I was out there when they asked me to, to fill in the beginners class as an intermediate. And I was like, yeah, not a problem. Track time's track time. And they were, like first time out on the track, and they were recording with their GoPros or whatever they were using, and they made some YouTube videos. Well, I happened upon those YouTube videos, and I was listening to their comments inside the car, and they're like, "Oh, there's that damn Mitsubishi again." And I go past them, and I comment on their video, "Yeah, that was me in that damn Mitsubishi that just passed you." They're like, "What's that thing?" "Oh, it's just some damn Mitsubishi." Yeah, as a matter of fact, in that one photo at Palmer Motorsports Park, that's in Ware, Massachusetts, the one racing picture of me with my helmet on, there's a Mustang in that one as well, a red 5.0 Mustang, and we were lapping him too. But it's, as soon as you get used to and get better at racing, then you really can't compete with those kind of cars. They're just too fast. Yeah, right. Imagine that. You got an Army Green Challenger, Dodge Challenger. Gosh, what's that thing? That thing's like 385 in it or something. What the heck kind of an engine is that thing in? Or is that a 420 something? I don't know what year. Kai. Oh, that's where you got Kai from. I saw that message earlier. Oh, there it is. Okay, 303 stock, but upgraded performance 425. There you go. Okay, well, I just read your post earlier. Sorry. Oh, what did Kai say? Sorry, Kai, I didn't get to see you come in. I was talking away. I'm here, Doc, way back. No, or did they just come in? And Kai, let me zoom in on your picture, Kai. Kai, you're not Filipina. No. I had to get on the edge of my seat and like, wait, what country are you from, Kai? Oh my gosh. 5.7 Hemi. Huge. So you saw the build list then on evolutionm.net, you did that's what you said, Sunfish? Yeah, I was settling into that thing, and then all of a sudden I broke the timing belt, and that just threw it into a world of hurt, and I never could figure out what the issue was. But more than likely it was the piston rings, and whoever was doing the troubleshooting and the tests on it were missing it, and it was just losing. Even they did a compression test. They did, I had the block rebuilt or not rebuilt, but finished, I sent it to a shop, or I had the guy that ended up buying it for $1,000, sent it out to have the head finished, and he put the he put the timing belt back together, and the balance shaft belt, and did all that, and everything was good to go, and it was double checked, triple checked, and I just had this back pressure problem. I was pushing oil back into the turbo. It was pushing oil out the oil pan through the bung and into the charge tubing of the turbo. And the only thing, a guy finally said, Gary, it can't be anything else other than your pistons. If it's blowing air back down into the oil pan, then it's not keeping air up into the top of the engine where it should be. And it was that, but that was after the fact. And instead of getting it repaired, with the amount of miles that it had, I had the original miles on it, so I was like looking at 140,000 miles when I did this to the car, when I turbocharged it. And that was always a content, or a subject of concern. So the bottom line was, my brother-in-law, who works at Toyota Lexus in Illinois, said, just get a new engine, Gary. Spend $1,300, get a brand new engine, or get a refurbished engine, rebuilt engine with 30,000 miles on it. Spend $1,300 on an engine, and then just put your turbo parts back onto it, just like you did, and it'll be done with. Everything will be back the way it was, stock. I mean, before it broke. Don't worry about trying to fix it. I ended up with 170,000 miles, I think, when it broke, and whatever happened to it. And after that, I even took out, yeah, I bet, Josh. That's, like I said, a lot of those cars, if they're not set up properly, they'll just spin. Whoa! It reminds me of those wind-up top toys, as kids. You put them, they go, whoop, 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 So, what was I saying? The last thing I did to it before the timing belt broke was, when I built it originally, I was an amateur, and I still am. But before I was to learn my lesson, I did some things that I shouldn't have done. For instance, I shouldn't have kept the air conditioning in the car, because I had a room issue in the engine bay. And in order for the all the charge piping to fit properly, especially the downpipe coming off the turbo manifold, it needed to make a complete 180-degree turn to get underneath the engine, and then a 90-degree to go back to the tail. And I did all that by myself. Actually, I didn't do the welding, but I designed it. And good old drafting class back in high school enabled me to just I called it common sense. It's just, I didn't do it the way a factory or, those that have better knowledge, would have, but I did it the old school way, in the garage with my, ruler and paper and pencil. And instead of putting on a proper downpipe, a 2.5-inch proper downpipe, which was pretty cool. I was so not proud, but happy that I did it right up, and I did most everything right. And instead of putting the smaller diameter piping on it and so on and so forth. And I paid for the TIG welding instead of the regular welding, and I had all stainless. From everything was stainless, all the bolts and the U joints and everything was stainless all the way back to the rear. So it didn't corrode, like a normal exhaust system would. But the only thing I didn't have was the proper downpipe, and because of the air conditioning unit, and I wanted to live large with air conditioning in my little sports, track car. And the guys that were doing the welding for me were telling me, this, you're going to run into issues if you don't get rid of that air conditioning, unit. Get rid of the air conditioning. And I went, yeah, but I really want it. And they're like, can you make it work? And I said, well, we can make it work, but because it's so tight in there, you're going to have 900 degrees or more at that bend, and it's going to burn right through that, a lot quicker than you want it, and you're going to end up having to, get a new downpipe, put in a new downpipe way too often. And they warned me, but I went, oh, go ahead and do it anyways. Well, it's exactly what happened. I burned a hole right at the elbow where it tucked in super tight by the air conditioning unit. And then I realized, okay, I need to do this right. So much for the air conditioning. This is a race car now, not a comfortable car. And so I took out the air conditioning unit, and that required me to get a smaller belt because now I had one less pulley. And I was able to work together with the guys in evolutionm.net that had done it before, and they told me the proper size, and I was able to find one at AutoZone, and it fit like a charm. And I was like, ooh, this is turning out kind of cool. And everything's working. How happy you are when everything fits and you have the right tools for everything. And then I designed the downpipe, and this time I did a full 180 degrees with lots of room and the proper diameter and the extra thickness. And this thing was like hardy. Yeah, then basically have a new car. That's exactly what my brother-in-law was telling me. He's like, you're going to end up dropping. I had already dropped enough money to buy a new engine, trying to chase this problem. And, he said, after the fact, he's like, Gary, just buy a new engine. Have somebody put it in for you, and then just either let them put, the parts that you've already done. And I had it all. It was pretty cool. I mean, I can almost tell you, all the specs of the spark plugs and the gap settings and I forget the terminology now of some of these other parts. That was required to run the larger fuel injectors, and I took the MAF, not the MAF, but the other one back at the back of the engine. It's a four bar MAP. Yeah, the MAF sensor is the one up by the air cleaner, by the turbo, air cleaner. But the MAP sensor in the rear was a 4-bar, and the stock is 3-bar, but it needed to be 4-bar. And the Evolution used a 4-bar. So you use the same MAP sensor that the Evolution, the Evo, uses. And then I ran 550cc injectors. You could use 1,000, but you could get away with, you get the proper the proper flow from a 550cc. So this was all helped by these guys up in Ottawa, and they told me everything, and to run it the gap setting a little bit bigger to make it a little cooler plug. And or was it hotter? Whatever. And then I just putting parts on and learning about it as I went, doing a lot of YouTube searching and article reading to figure out what it is I was doing. Sal, Mr. Sal, welcome back. That's right, Sal up in the somewhere Saskatchewan, Canada, I believe, right? Sal, somewhere up there. Yeah, no such thing as AC. And as far as what turbo to use, they had already done the R&D up in Ottawa. They went through like 5 turbos to see which one was the most efficient for that engine, for the 2.4, the 4G69. It was a package they sold to turbokits.com. And check this out. Check this story out. Josh and Sunfish. I was like I was in the middle of this when they finally went public with their kit and sold the kit to turbokits.com. And although it was for a manual transmission and I've got an automatic, so I'm like, I'm getting wind of this kit as it was in the final steps of going public. And I'm asking them, well, what about an automatic? And they started educating me, well, the charge piping is going to be different because you've got the transmission as opposed to a automatic transmission on the side of your engine. And the charge piping needs to be routed a little differently. And so I started liaisoning with turbokits.com. And I said, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I've got an automatic, and I'm interested in this kit, but it's not for an automatic. Would you be interested in, and I actually got together with the guys up in Canada and in Ottawa and said, let's see, was it with them? Oh, no, we decided that it would be up to TurboKits. You should speak to TurboKits and see if they want to produce an automatic version of the kit that we're selling them. And I went, okay. So I get a hold of turbokits.com and I get on the phone and I introduced myself and then started writing them via email and saying, and laying out what it is that I'm wanting to do. Would you be interested? And they're like, well, let us get back to you. And they get back to me and they're like, we're on board. And I went, no way. Really? They said, yeah, but we need your car as a mock-up so we can figure out the charge piping and so on. He said, if you're willing to come up to New Hampshire or to Connecticut, he said, we'll mock up your car for free. You pay for the kit, we'll mock it up for you, and you'll be able to drive home with it on your car. And I'm like, no way. Seriously? I started making plans with my wife, hotel room, everything, 4-day weekend. We were going up to Connecticut to let turbokits.com work their magic on my car and mock up my car and do all the measurements and do it for me and install it for me. And I was like, this is unreal. This is really going to happen, And then something happened with the business end of the manual turbo kit with the guys in Ottawa and turbokits.com, and their transaction never happened. They ended up backing out of it. Either both of them or one of them, some kind of a disagreement, or I don't know, some kind of a business. And they never went public with their kit. And so they reneged. Well, they had no choice but to say, hey, we're not doing this anymore. So, we're sorry. Nix your plans to come up here and have that done. And I had already bought the kit. I'd already paid, I should say. I paid for the kit and the software and the tune. Electronic tune, they're going to send it to me via email. an APK file, and you just plug the OBD port up underneath your dash and run the cable to your laptop and upload the turbo tune, the bass tune, to your new engine. And now they're not going to do it. And it was like a punch in the gut. I was like, oh my gosh, I already put out the money. What am I going to do now? And all the guys on evolutionm.net, they're like, dude, Gary, do it yourself. Go for it, dude. You're going to be the first. Nobody's done it to an automatic 4G69 yet. Nobody that we know of in the world. He said, go for it. Just do it yourself. We'll help you. I'm like, oh my, I got all nervous. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. No, it's doable. There's one guy that actually attempted to do it, and he never was able to finish because, and then I started getting some bad vibes that this guy Hackish, the Canadian up in Ottawa, wasn't able to finish the tune on this automatic due to one reason or another. He ran into a dead end, and I'm getting all this like secondhand information, and then I'm writing the tuner back, Hackish, the guy that ended up basically I ended up meeting him and giving me the tune up in Ottawa. Wait a minute, a bunch of guys are saying some bad things about you, and he's like, don't believe them. I did this. He never followed through with this. He never got back to me. It was like a big miscommunication. A lot of, as they say in the Philippines, a lot of chismes. In other words, a lot of rumors going around. So he's like, I was willing to troubleshoot whatever it is, the next step for this guy, but he never followed through on his end. So I was never able to help him out. He said, Gary, don't worry. He says, listen, that's my major in college. He says, I know computers. Computers are just man-made. He said, and he says, I can figure this out. You just got to give me some time, and I can figure it out. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Stop listening to the other guys. And if you want to go through with this, I'm here and I'm ready to help you out. And so I was this big roller coaster ride, of emotions. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting scammed. Oh, wait a minute. He says I'm not. And then the guys would say something and I'd be back down here again. And I was just doing this the whole time, and now I've got $5,000 invested in this, or $4,000 invested in this kit. And I got no material to show for it yet, because it was Turbo Kits was going to do it for me. And now what do I do? Where do I get the material? Where's this kit? I can't buy the manual one because the charge tubing isn't set up for my engine. So I did that on my own. Well, I shouldn't say all on my own, but I started it on my own. And they gave me what they had that was compatible, like the manifold and the charge tubing coming off the carburetor, which was pretty much just a straight piece with a bend in it. But that from that point on was going to be the modification that I needed to do for the automatic transmission. The intercooler was the same. The charge piping going to one coming out of it was the same, but the one going into it from the carburetor was going to be bent differently. And when it went by the battery and all that, down by the headlight and all that. So I was able to do that with the help of some welders and so on. And they did the TIG welding and did a beautiful job. And So 11 months later, I actually finished it. And then, although I went out that morning that the tune was coming my way, that, Hackish, that's his nickname. When he figured out the glitch, that part that other guy never was able to figure out, or whatever the problem was finally figured out. He sent me the tune, he sent me the file, and I wake up the next morning and I always go to my email and check it to see what, I have in my inbox. And it's an email from Hackish up in Ottawa. And I can see the APK file attached. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's here. My car's all finished out there at the curb, but I can't run it. I can't even start it, because there's no tune for it. And actually, could I start it? Yes, I could. I could actually run it in what's that mode again called? Where it goes in limp mode. It would go into limp mode. I could actually idle it. And actually, that's how I got it to my curb in front of the house. But as far as like putting on the gas, and actually running it, no, I couldn't even. So without the tune. So I get the tune and I'm like, get my laptop and I'm running out to my car. I think it was still in the snow or ice. And I get in there and I'm plugging it in and I uploaded it. Everything operates just like it. I see the scroll bar, 80%, 90, 95, and it finishes. And then I'm like texting him back going, okay, now what? What do I do? He says, put the key in and start it. I was like, oh my gosh, here it goes. What's it going to do? So I put the key in, and as soon as I turn the key, the thing like explodes, like, whoa. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's alive, and it had that low, growl. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is a different animal under my butt, And then I take it out on I like precariously, put it in. Remember, it's automatic. So I put it in drive, or I'm actually manually. I did a lot of manual. When I was on the racetrack, I always used the manual. I didn't have paddles, It was too old for that. So I was like, I get it out on the surface street and I drive it around the block and I'm just idling and I'm getting out to an open road so I can open up the throttle, and I get on the throttle and the thing, whoa, it growls and starts to breathe. And I'm like, whoa, and I feel like pull back in my seat. And then about 500 yards down the road, the thing goes, whoa, ha, 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 ha. And all of a sudden the lights are all on and the car is like, I have no accelerator. But I do have an accelerator, but it's like I can only go 25 miles an hour and all the lights are on the dash. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what just happened? And I can kind of recognize, I think I'm in limp mode. It's still running. I can still accelerate, but I can't get past 25 miles an hour or 30. So I like precariously have to pull over. I make sure all the traffic's clear. I turn around and I get back to the house. And I get back in my email. I was like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe this. And I tell him what happened. And he's like, it's okay, settle down. He says, you're going to need to send me what the car did. He says, there's a way of doing that, and I end up sending him back a help me out, a file using a spreadsheet on the tuning. And I can do that through my laptop. And since I have the program, and he just shows me, what it is. And he says, now print that out and show me go back out and run the car and record while you're doing this and send me back what it's doing. And that's what he did. He ended up, I'm trying to remember. He ended up coming onto my computer. What's that program? You got to be leery of when you let people do that. But he comes onto my laptop and he starts, takes control of my mouse. And he gets me out on the road and he's literally looking at the engine in Ottawa, while I'm driving here in New Jersey. And he says, okay, let me work on that. I'll send you another tune as soon as I can. And so he worked on it overnight, and in the morning I had another tune ready. And this time it was good to go. And I was able to drive it from that point on. And eventually, though, he told me, you need to get this thing tuned. and I'll tune it for you, but you need to come up to Ottawa, in order for me to put it on a dyno, and or I can do it on the street. Dyno's preferable, but on the street is doable as well. Just takes more time and less convenient. So I happened to, my dad, what was it? My dad got sick or something. My wife's grandmother died in the Philippines, and she needed to get home to go bury her. No, it wasn't her. Okay, I think I got it back. I'm good to go. The battery died on. Yeah, the battery died on. I didn't have it plugged in. Imagine that. So yeah, that was like the bass tune, and it wasn't tuned for performance. It was tuned for e- economy, and you know just to run the new package. And then eventually I had the guy, another kid up in Ontario. Um, I wanted more. I wanted a different tune and more response, at certain RPMs and get it. Once I went out on the track and I started learning a little bit, I started reporting back to them and saying, is there any way I can, get more RPMs? Because I'd like to be able to, go past, what the max is, because it had a limiter on it. So we took that off and was able to set the RPMs to 7,200 instead of what's the stock, 60, 65 or 63 or something like that. And then the guy in Ontario gave me his tune that was to his manual uh, Lancer, and the sedan version sounds like the one you had, um, Sunfish, and that that increased the response and the power a little bit more. That's pretty much how I had it until it broke and sat in the garage for a year and a half. Couldn't figure out what the problem was, nor could anybody else. And I gave it away. Yeah. I don't even know. It might be sitting in the back lot of this guy's repair shop, 8 miles from me. I gave him the cover and everything. I gave everything out of my garage. And yeah, I don't know. Probably gathered dust and never went anywhere. He probably stole the. I had suspicions and everything. I couldn't help but think, that he already had plans for it, and this was my stinking thinking. All right, Josh. All right, brother. I actually told my wife I was going to bed at midnight tonight because I ended up burning the candle at both ends last night, and I woke up at 12:30 this afternoon, which is late, but I went to bed at 9:30 in the morning this morning. I took my wife to work, came home, stayed up another 2 hours, and I only got 3 hours of sleep today. I should be a zombie by now, and here it is 1 in the morning. That I was going to get to bed at midnight so I could get a full night's rest, and I'm 1 hour over. So I'm going to end it. I'm going to end it as well. Hey guys, it looks like 9 people in the room. Mohammed, what's up, brother? I didn't read your comment. Sorry about that. I was, as you heard, talking about other than emergency medicine stories. I ended up sharing 1980 high school pictures and talking about vehicles. Great. What a subject tonight, huh? Without my cover on for the first time. Yes, I do still have some hair. That's my mom. Thank God for my mom. I see, two people stuck in the room. Should I hang out and see if anybody else wants to chit-chat? Let me see what Muhammad had to say here about Palestine. Free Palestine. Have you heard about the Israeli genocide and the innocent Palestinian people? No. The Palestinians are poor people who are being killed by the Israeli soldiers by bombing and artillery. Stay out of Israel. How about that? Was that a bad thing to say? Stay out of Israel. They'll leave you alone. You know, I'm getting a taste of why there is friction in the world between countries, just by me being a Christian and being exposed to the Islamic religion and having constructive conversation, with one to the other. And I can already see how that can get out of hand. Where when two people stop having constructive conversation, and when there's already a difference or a disagreement between one and the other, how that could go astray and get out of hand real quick and then grow into a war. Yeah, and that's exactly what's happening. And even on that note, the conversation I was having with another person that came into my chat, him and I were talking via comments, and we've shared. God, I just looked at it. We've shared like 98 comments between each other. More. Duke. Oh my gosh! Look at right as I'm about to step out, I said, should I hang out a little bit longer and see if anybody else pops in? And then more pops up and Duke pops in. What's up, brothers? Plural. Oh, I was saying more that you see earlier, somebody popped in and just threw in some random comments about free Palestine. And I wasn't going to comment, but I kind of read it and went, well, I can kind of think of a solution, and that is stay out of Israel. They'll leave you alone. I mean, that's the bottom line. You stay out of Israel. And then that led me to say, to comment further about the differences between, the differences between the two countries. And I know what it is, and I now know even more so what it is. And I wasn't even delving into that part of world politics or world, beliefs. But I just had, you were here, I think, more when the Muslim, Muhammad, I forget the last part. I got it in my chat. Well, we ended up talking amongst each other for days, and I think we've already shared like over 100 20 exchanges between each other. Just him telling me about, the Quran, and me defending Jesus Christ. And we, without calling each other's names, we were able to actually, and I even told him at the very end, I said, I kept you so that I could improve my algorithm on YouTube. I said, all due respect, but at the same time, I did say, I did learn something. I've never been in in-depth conversation this much ever, with a Muslim. So for you to share with me, what you know of the Quran, and for me to share what I know of from the Bible, is the first time for me. And we are, if I choose to, I can go back to those comments and continue my chat with him. He's probably waiting for me to respond. And so, yeah, et cetera more. But my point was, we were able to do this, constructively, and with, just going and going and going and going. It's like, no matter what I say and no matter what he says, neither of us are gonna, although, no, I can't say that. I actually told him at the very end, or towards the end of the conversation, I said, here's the difference between, a big difference. And it was something he said. He said something to the effect, well, I really don't care if you, believe in the Quran or not. I said, well, that's a good point, because as a Christian, I do care about you. God forbid you leave this earth, you take your last breath without knowing the truth. I said, there's a big difference there. You're telling me I really don't care if you believe in the Quran, where I'm telling you I wholeheartedly have compassion as to whether or not you do or not. I would probably agree with him that no matter what I say, he's probably not going to, but I can't say that. All I can do is share the message, and the rest is up to God. But anyhow, therefore, at the very end, though, there was a little bit of friction starting to develop, and it was based on something how I responded. And then one of his last responses started to get kind of nasty. And that's what I'm talking about, is when you have Muslims and you have Jewish people, and they're not on the same page, and even if they have peace talks and they can talk amongst each other about one another, I'm giving an example, and they have constructive conversation one to another, it's just inevitable with their differences that friction starts to occur. And my example with this guy is a good example of that. I'm just giving an example, 100 exchanges between one another without, anybody getting upset. But at the very end, that little bit of friction started to emerge. And now you put that in perspective of entire countries. You get one person, one bad egg that's gonna take it out of context, and then next thing you know, you got a fist fight at the street corner after school, and then you got et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you got full-blown wars. So, yeah, my comment is, stay out of Israel. They'll leave you alone. Poof. Done. Yeah. And because of me, that has engaged in a constructive debate with me. They tend to spout conjectured, blatant, and homonyms and illogically semantic points. You found one. Yeah, that you found one. that you could talk with, right? Well, this kid, you know what, would have done it. Come to find out, I was speaking with an older person. I actually thought I looked up his screen name, and his screen name is actually of a renowned. Uh, I don't know if he's an Amim or Imam. I mean, or he's a high visibility figure in the Muslim faith, and he's got a YouTube channel. You see him in debates with everybody. Well, he's using his name for his screen name. And I thought, whoa, am I actually speaking to this guy? I wonder if I am. Well, just the other day, he told me, I said, I'm a 62-year-old person just with some maybe a little above average knowledge, of the word of God. And then he says, well, I'm barely over 20 myself. And I went, oh, so you're just a kid. So, but he claims he'll debate anybody. He'll debate the most educated scholars, he said. He has no qualms about doing that. He'll do it right now if he had the opportunity. And that's when I said, oh, well, I got somebody for you that you would love to meet. And I happen to have his business card right here. He's in San Diego. I said, he is, if you want to just, share your faith with somebody like you did with me, I said, I got a perfect person for you to talk with. I mean, he knows even more than I do, and we'll be able to answer some of your questions if you have them. And then he started putting up the wall and saying, well, I'll tell you what, I'll speak with him if you open a Quran. And I went, wait a minute, what are you, where are you? So he says, isn't it fair? And then I started thinking, wait a minute, this isn't a deal breaker thing. I was just recommending you to somebody because I'm pretty much done. We're not gonna, we don't have a whole lot to talk about anymore to talk about it. So if you want to continue, they call themselves a warner. Instead of an evangelist, they call themselves a warner. Muhammad Hijab, I'd have to look at his name. It's Muhammad something, and two other names, Muhammad something something. But I was, I just lost my thought, but it's okay. I'm going to get it back here within seconds. No, I was just saying, I don't know if he was this guy that does the YouTube videos and the debates with Christians. I don't know if he's an imam or what his title is, but he's a Islamic scholar, I think, of some sort. Yeah. So, what was I saying was that I was just introducing him, recommending, they call themselves a warner, instead of like an evangelist, they're out to warn people that if you don't believe in, anyways, that, you'll go to hell, basically. And I said, well, I've got somebody else that you would be, I said, as a Muslim, I said, it would behoove you to, it is Allah's command to go out and warn other people, correct? You told me already that's what you're doing with me. I said, well, there's another person that I think you would like to warn. He said, well, if you open the Quran, then I'll visit your friend. Wouldn't that be fair? And I was like, huh? What are you talking about? Yeah. So anyways, on that note as well, I'm actually it did bring up a study point that I wasn't able to answer. And when he asked me, and I wasn't able to, to elaborate on it. I gave him a reference, but it really didn't answer his question. And then it got me thinking, okay, wait a minute. What am I thinking of, and where do I need to go to answer his question? And I've been I've been researching it for 2 days, and I came across what I thought was the answer. I mean, clearly something I hadn't seen before. And I've always wondered about it myself. Instead of telling people this is what the Christian faith says, I want to be able to explain it to them in a understandable, logical, way. And I wasn't able to do that. And so I thought of my friend in San Diego. I'm going to have to call him and ask him, okay, explain to me again so I can explain it to for example, a Muslim, that asks or that challenges me. And yeah, I'm still kind of stuck. And it's good. But so, did I get anything out of it? Absolutely. I had an opportunity to do something I'd never done before. Um, most of the points and contentions that he brought up, I was able to answer, and I mean, the Word of God answered it for me, clear as could be, and I was like, yes, Oh, and the last thing I said to him, which probably didn't make him very happy, but actually, the point I said that I was just keeping him in chat so that I could improve my YouTube algorithm, which is true. But I said as well, come on, Gary, keep your train of thought, is the fact that I could, what was it? And not only to improve my YouTube algorithm. That I said after this lengthy exchange, I came to realize that the Quran, written approximately 600 years after, the Bible, is just copying or trying to, there's the key word, trying to copy what the Bible already said 600 years ago, before it, and to eliminate Jesus Christ from the equation. Period. That's what the whole agenda I see out of that is. They're copying what was already written, except they're leaving Jesus or changing Jesus Christ. And I said, you know what we call that? I said, that's called stolen valor. And he's like, no, it's not stolen valor. I said, it absolutely is stolen valor. I said, which was written first? And I said, look at what the Quran says, and now look what the Bible said 600 years before that. I said, it's the same thing, except for a few little changes, and the storyline is now different because you eliminated Jesus Christ. I said, but other than that, the Quran is telling the same story. It's trying to. About what you're going to receive through the works that you do per the Quran. I said, let me show you in the Bible where that came from. And I went to, where is it? I'm looking at John, I think, or Romans. Talks about you will receive a reward. Oh, it's Ecclesiastes. I said, it's exactly from this part of the Bible. He says, well, of course there's going to be similarities. And I went, you mean the other way around? The Quran doesn't have similarities because the Bible does. I'm sorry, the other way around. I said, You wouldn't have got your story unless the Bible was there in the first place. Muhammad obviously read the Bible, and then it's like same thing the Mormons did. You know, they misinterpreted, they took something out of context and said there must be more if the Bible says this. And Joseph Smith wrote more. Same thing, just in an earlier time. Quran did the same thing. They misinterpret what the Bible says. So they conclude that it can't mean this because I'm interpreting it another way. So they must mean this. And they got it wrong. They got it wrong. Yeah, it's pretty it was pretty clear. Okay, this is just a copy. This is just a copy job. In an attempt to eliminate Christ. I even said, well, if everything's corrupt, and I was just watching a YouTube video today, and the guy said it so well. He's like, you know, you contacted me to debate me, and yet when I give you an answer, there's nothing I'm going to say that's going to explain to you or answer for you the question you have regarding Christianity, because every answer I give you is either not what Allah said, or it's wrong and it's corrupt because it's corrupt. So it's like I can't even give you an answer because you can't read the answer that I'm giving you from the source that I'm giving you that I'm giving you out of, because according to you it's corrupt. So do you want to debate me, or what are you doing? Anyways. And that's the same, you know, and it got to that point at the end of our conversation with this kid. I said, oh, that's what I was going to say is, I said, what about okay, I said, let's keep this simple. I said, I opened up my Bible and I actually, I didn't because I wasn't video chatting with him. I said, what about in the beginning God created? And he says, oh, well, that is, in so many words, acceptable. And I'm like, wait a minute. Either it's 100% the truth or it's corrupt. Which is it? What? So you're willing to accept that, but yet, what, you get to pick and choose what is corrupt and what is not? I said, it all depends. It all is based on that very first sentence. Either in the beginning God created or he didn't. And if so, then everything after it must be true. Because the claim is, it is the way, the truth, and the life. Nothing but. Nothing but. So, and Surah 5:44 through 48, and that's something I learned, says they do recognize Jesus in that he confirms the Torah, or I learned the word for the gospel is Injil, and the word for Torah is, forget, maybe it's Torah. There's a word for it in Arabic. Wait, I think you might have just said it earlier. Prophet married Aisha when she was sick. No, you didn't say it. But anyways, and I went, wait a minute. I believe that is true. Christ does confirm the Torah. Absolutely. I said 100%. I'm not in disagreement with that. I said, so what of it? And I read the Surah 5:44 through 48. It says, Allah commands the Muslim to believe it. And I went, well, if they truly understand that Jesus Christ indeed does confirm the Torah, in particular Isaiah 53, then there's no question. There's no question who he is and why he came. And Allah says that it does confirm it, and for a Muslim to believe it. I said, then why aren't you believing it? Because it's corrupt. You see? There's nothing you can say. I was like, well, what about the basics of the story? Besides the corruption that you can point out, apparently, words, and this word corrupts because it contradicts this, da-da-da-da-da. Said, what about the whole basis behind the Torah and the gospel? The basic foundation of the gospel and the Torah is sin came into the world, and and through one man it infected the whole world. And by one man, righteousness was imputed to everybody in the whole world. That's the story from in the beginning to the gospel. And your Surah 5:44 through 48 says exactly that Jesus Christ does confirm the Torah, and that you're to believe it. And he told me that the Torah, the original Torah and gospel, is no longer available. It's all been, like we know, the original manuscripts, we've only found parts of it, the what are they calling it? That. But the preservation of it through writers, through transcribers, conserved it for 1,400 years. And I was like, gee, I wonder where that 1,400 years comes from in the Quran. They say the same thing about the Quran. It was preserved for 1,400 years. Gee, I wonder where that came from. Stolen valor. That's what I told him. No, it's not. I said, yes, it is. So anyways, I said, if it's out there, if the Quran came from or says that is an agreement that the gospel confirms the Torah, but it's no longer available, and or it's the copies that are out today are corrupt, then I said, it's not up to me to show you where it is. That seems to be a Muslim dilemma. Because the Muslims, the Quran says the Torah and the gospel are true. So don't ask me and don't show me where it's corrupt or where I'm wrong. Your book says it's correct. So go out and find it. I said, I did. I held up my Bible. I did. Oh, but that Bible in your hand is corrupt. I said, how do you know? And of course he says, well, how do you know it's not? And I said, because I have evidence of it. He said, well, show me. And I wrote down the name of the author and the name of the book. He's like, oh, don't give me, and then he goes on again, no matter what I say, it's either not correct, not true, or it's corrupt. You see? So that was the conversation, back and forth, back and forth. It's like, I'm answering your question, but you don't want to study it. So anyhow, and then the last few comments that kind of started to reveal that there was starting to be some friction was, and you say Christ was risen from the dead, 500 plus people witnessed it, blah, blah, blah. And I went, okay, now your 20-year-old is coming at you. It's like, come on. Now you're going to start throwing mud because you're starting to get triggered. You see, that's the friction I'm talking about, and that's all it takes. Then you get some radicals, in the religion who decide to form a militia group, and they go out and start doing bad things and throwing rocks over the fence at the the other side of the block. Then a worldwide dilemma starts to unfold, and then you get people popping in saying, "Free the Palestinians," because they're being bombed by Israel. It's like, well, stay out of Israel. They'll leave you alone. Um, let's see. I actually have the studio. See if I can stay open while I look at the name of the commenter. He was in our chat room I think two live streams ago. Muhammad stand by. Come on. Don't drop me off the panel. Oh no, I have a feeling it's going to drop me. It's saying I got to refresh. Uh-oh. I'm refreshing the YouTube channel. Let's see how long it keeps me. If I can hear the music, I'm still there. Stand by. For some reason, it's not letting me go back without reloading here. Hold on. Here it goes. Come on. I'm still there. I can hear the music. Okay. Live. Here. I should be able to look at the comments here. Views, live comments. Oh my gosh. No, these are shorts. I don't want shorts. I want live. 804 views. Comments. Come on. There should be like a gazillion comments. What happened to them all? That's the one I want. That's weird. Okay, guys, I'm not able to pull up that information, but I'm gonna head out and get ready to hit the rack and wake up and get a decent night's sleep. Oh, I'm actually starting to yawn. That's a good thing. All right, guys. Later. See ya. Um, thanks for hanging out, girl in the mirror. Frank. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. Oh, remember when radical was just a term for really cool? I know, radical, dude. It was rad. Frank. I just now came back. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, now they're talking about radical left and radical this and radical that. Yeah, it's like I just looked at my live streams and oh, maybe it was my shorts. You know what? I'm going to try again. Hang in there, Frank. I'm going to try one more time. I'm going to leave one more time. Hold on. I'm going to stop the cam, show my profile picture, and go over here to the studio. Oh, Jordan, Can I see your phone one more time? That's a good point. Jordan, can I see your phone one more time? I'm going to use the phone. That way I won't have to. Hold on, Frank. Don't leave yet. I don't know if Moore is still hanging out or not, but I got to here, you know what? I got a better picture. Hold on a second. I'll do it this way. Guys, I'm still here. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me okay? Can you still hear my audio? Can you still hear me? Yes? I'm looking at my audio and my audio is good to go. Okay. So, no, nothing went kaput. I just put it on my other screen here. But the name of the uh oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Moore wanted to know the name of the commenter that I had a lengthy conversation with. Here it is. And no, this is 152. This isn't the same video. It's like, why does it say 152 on one particular video? And then when I click on it, it opens up multiple comments from multiple videos. Okay. Can you still see me, Frank? Are you there? Are you there? Let me reload here to see if something. Okay. Did that bring me back, Frank? Or more? Are you there? Let's see. Hello, hello. Test, test, test. Who's still there? Okay, that's the name of the the person I was having I exchanged 152 comments back and forth between us. So 76 apiece or thereabouts. Okay, guys. No more yawning. I'm out of here. I gotta go. Gotta get to sleep. Tulog time. As you were, people. Later, Gator. Ciao. Arrivederci. Auf Wiedersehen. Good night. Good more night for some of you. Later, dude.